Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot podcast. And today I have with me Mack. You want to explain what you did in the military?
Ooh, I held the two most hated jobs in the Marine Corps, my friend. I was both a military police officer and a recruiter, man.
Yeah. And so, which of those two jobs did you like best?
Oh, military police for sure.
Yeah.
So I spent 8 years kind of bouncing all around the world for different MP units. I stayed on the field side, so I never did any sort of base cop stuff. I had a lot of fun doing convoy security and deploying, and I did a whole host of different things. We kind of joked that MPs are multi-purpose.
Yeah.
Now, I did convoy security to bases. We taught ANA or the Iraqi National Armies. We did customs work in Afghanistan. We were just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know. Way better than
What did you guys do when you weren't deployed?
Trained. We spent a lot of time doing fuck games, mainly because who likes junior Marines? We did a lot of training. We spent a lot of time in the field shooting and just doing different training for mount. So went out to all the different areas in North Carolina and set up field ops and basically sat around with our dicks in our hand because nobody really has a purpose for MPs in air wing units. And then when I went to Okinawa, we'd basically sleep in Connex boxes with these giant banana spiders. Mm-hmm. You want to see a Marine get scared, put a giant banana spider.
Yeah. And for any viewers out there or listeners, just a warning, this is a military podcast and there is going to be foul language in there. And if you're offended, just don't listen.
Nobody cares anyways.
No one cares. So, what did you do as a recruiter? What did that involve?
So, I will be the first one to admit that I was a shitty recruiter. There's a whole host of reasons for that, but I spent a lot of time making very pointless phone calls because I'm terrible on the phone.
Is this an appropriate episode to laugh like Nick Offerman?
Always an appropriate time to laugh like Nick Offerman. You've got that creepy laugh down to a T, man. I think he'd be proud. So I spent a lot of time making pointless phone calls where people didn't answer or got pissed off. So we'd call them on the fax machine. Or, we'd send out a lot of Facebook response or Facebook comments to people basically saying, "Yo, I'm your friendly neighborhood recruiter, man."
Did you see that latest Army recruiting picture where they were offering an extra 10K bonus for anyone that left within 30 days? And in the photo, they had it looked like an ODA team, and they were wearing their night vision goggles in the day. They had them down.
It's a huge difference between the Marine Corps and Army recruiting because, and this isn't trash talking the Army because they're very effective, or at least semi-effective. Basically, they'd get these kids in, somehow drag them into the office, and whether literally or figuratively, you decide. And they'd sit down and they basically give them a whole host of, this is a GI Bill, this is how much you're going to get paid every month, look at this medical and dental coverage. Yeah. And they basically hand them the enlistment package and their background check and be like, all right, we'll see you in 2 days.
Yeah.
And the kids walked out so bewildered of what was going on that they just came back in 2 days with their paperwork in hand.
Yeah.
Like, I guess I'm joining the Army now?
Yeah.
Whereas the Marine Corps, we spend a lot of time trying to develop relationships and really trying to get down and dirty in what the Marine Corps can really do for them.
Yeah.
And it's both very effective as well as can scare away a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because we really want to know what the Marine Corps can do for them. Some of my Army buddies and I joke about how motivated and retarded the Marine Corps are, especially in the delayed entry program.
Yeah.
And it's because we really indoctrinate them very early.
Yeah.
Basically, you
That's
think
true.
you want to be in the Marine Corps? We don't care. You're not worth it. You can't do 3 pull-ups? right now you can't do 3 pull-ups.
Yeah,
back up, bro.
Bye. Yeah,
we'll be seeing you.
That's true. Yeah, I remember, because I first went and talked to a Marine recruiter when I was in Oregon, and he was like more like trying to build a relationship with me and like get to know who I was. But whereas like the Army guys, they were just like taking people left and right, like they were popping pills, and
oh yeah, especially we called it
meeting a quota.
We called it the 202K push, and that was the Marine Corps is obviously the smallest branch. When the beginning of the Iraq War started in Iraq and Afghanistan, we were sitting right around 176,000 Marines. Well, we realized that we needed to bump up to 202,000 Marines. So the 202 push, and man, it was tedious for those recruiters. I feel bad for them, but I'm so glad I wasn't one of them. I mean, these guys were having to put in four kids every month per recruiter.
Oh,
that
sucks.
Especially for the Marine Corps, where we're trying to find the highest quality because we want you to be really indoctrinated for when we kick you in the teeth later on and you decide not to re-enlist.
Yeah. That's funny. So like, I guess now that how long have you been out?
I've been out since November of 2016, so we're coming up on 3 years, which is crazy.
How long did you spend in?
I spent 9.5 years, almost to the day.
Dang, that's about how long I would have been in if I fulfilled the last re-enlistment.
Oh yeah, you decided to lose your leg instead, you bitch.
Oh, I could have stayed in. That's a story for another day, though.
We speaking of guys that stayed in without a leg, we had the first Marine that lost his leg in Afghanistan. Well, the first Marine that went back to Afghanistan after losing his leg. He was stationed on Camp Pendleton, where I was. Yeah. And we used to wake up and go deer hunting at Camp Pendleton during deer season. This kid was a fucking beast. He'd be up there with us at 3 a.m. He'd go to the most mountainous parts of Camp Pendleton. He'd shoot a deer, and he'd drag this fucking 170-pound deer up a hill or up this mountain. No, absolutely not. But then we had these Navy kids come from down in San Diego.
I mean, you got to think though. I mean, he's like me. He's only got one. He doesn't feel pain in that leg. He just drags it along.
I didn't even think about that. It's a really valid point. I was just thinking his mental fortitude, but if we want to talk about, he didn't feel the pain. There's no lactic acid when you don't have a leg.
There's no lactic acid in that calf muscle.
No, but then we had these 2 kids from San Diego come up from the Navy, and they had shot a deer down in the same area, and they had called the game warden, like, we can't get it out, and he was like, yeah, I'm not coming for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did because that's his job. But
an interesting story I read a little while ago, it was literally a couple days ago, or actually I listened to it, was I'm going to pardon any of my Navy SEAL or Green Beret buddies out there. A guy was explaining he's been through both BUDS and ODA training, and he was saying he was asked which one was harder, and he said that in all reality, the ODA training was harder because with going through BUDS, you just had to meet the physical fitness requirements and not quit, and you made it. Whereas in going to become get on an ODA team, not only did you have to do that, but you also you were expected to perform, and if you didn't perform, you basically got peer evaluated, kicked out.
Yeah, I feel like the Navy SEALs, after they go through BUDS, they go through their separate training. I think that's where they build up that mental fortitude, and they decide to kick you out whether or not.
Whereas like ODA, it's from the beginning.
Yeah, and one of the things that I learned about the ODA guys is that it is very mental. They're trying to weed you out.
Yeah,
and a lot of them will go from ODA to Ranger School afterwards instead of the other way around, and they'll say they're completely different. The Ranger School is more physical.
Yeah.
It's all about breaking down your body, not breaking down your mind.
Yeah.
Whereas ODA, it's all about the mental.
Yeah, it is.
Like, because you might not be able to get the perfect physical fitness stuff, but if you have that mental capability, then they're willing to work with you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very interesting thing. The Green Berets an outstanding group of men.
Yeah.
And they're not. I kind of consider them the hillbillies of special forces because they just do whatever they do whatever they need to, and they're just so well versed. It's like going to a redneck encampment.
Yeah.
And those guys just know how to do everything.
So
they're very self-sufficient.
What's your thoughts on between, because the Marines have MARSOC now, like what's your thoughts on how like MARSOC stands in there?
Which
one do you think they support more?
So the Raiders are a very interesting group of Marines. A lot of them came from the recon world.
Yeah.
And their mission is just a little bit different. Yeah, we're getting more, or they're getting more into kicking in doors and doing DA work or direct action work. But a lot of them are more similar to some of those Green Berets where they're living amongst the people. But I feel like they have a lot more support staff than like the ODA guys do. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of a more complex situation.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to compare all of the different branches, special operations commands. I mean, the PJs are a completely different situation. The SEALs are a different situation. In theory.
Yeah.
I feel like over the last 20 years, the SEALs have tried to be more like the Green Berets, and that's not against them. It's just what the mission entails.
Yeah.
But when you look at like the guys from 12 Strong, what they did and what they accomplished is completely different than what MARSOC or the SEALs or any of them would ever need to do.
Yeah.
So I think they just kind of fit their different niches.
Yeah.
And it's like comparing apples and, I don't know, kumquats.
Yeah.
Because they're so far away.
Yeah. So while you were in, what was some of the craziest things that you guys like did to each other? What kind of like hazing did you guys do?
So my first day as a Fleet Marine, I had this. I was a Lance Corporal, so an E3, and I had this senior Lance Corporal, and I thought we were equals. Man, he was part of the old Marine Corps division before they got the MP division before they got rid of him originally.
Yeah.
And he was a hard guy. I mean, he deployed to Iraq for 2 tours, and he had a combat action ribbon. And this dude, he should have been a corporal, but we were kind of in a promotion freeze. Man, I thought we were equals, and he was teaching us how to do the vehicle checkpoints and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was not listening.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, we're equals. I was being super arrogant.
Yeah.
This dude, he warned me once, and then he knocked me the fuck out.
Yeah.
So, the Marine Corps is very much in that way. What
yeah.
I see a lot from the Army is, oh, we'll smoke you and make you do a bunch of push-ups.
Yeah.
Marine Corps is all about fighting. I'll just punch you right in the fucking face.
I will say, we did some hazing. I think some of the stuff we did was probably borderline, but I don't know. It was still fun. We had a troublemaker in basic that when he was gone to church. Well, I wouldn't say trouble. He was just a brain. But when he was gone at church, we flipped his wall locker over upside down because you couldn't tell which way was it, right side up on our wall lockers. And then within 30 minutes of them getting back, we had a locker inspection. And when they opened up his locker, everything came pouring out. It was the funniest freaking thing in the world.
We had a guy that one of the other recruits pissed in this dude's canteen. Like something you would see on Full Metal Jacket. Like,
yeah.
I never thought that I'd see it in real life. I thought it was just one of those.
Oh my god.
One of those BS stories, but
That's horrible.
This kid, I won't mention his name, but he had been dropped like 2 or 3 companies for injuries, or I think he was on the pork chop platoon.
Yeah.
He just couldn't pass the initial strength test.
Yeah.
And man, he was such an arrogant little prick. At the beginning, by the end of the time, I wouldn't say I liked him, but he was better.
Yeah.
But the first week of recruit training, as we call it,
what
we were still so at the end of every night we do checks for cleanliness and injuries, and they make us drink an entire canteen. And basically, we stand on line, hold it out, and they tell us to drink, and we drink the entire thing till it's gone.
Oh yeah.
Well, this guy had a full canteen of piss.
Oh
and
man,
he tipped it up. spit it out. And two of the drill instructors came over, and they were nobody liked this kid, and they made him drink the entire thing.
Oh,
because he said,
so
and he
bad.
was like, oh, my canteen is full of piss. And they're like, my motherfucker, this recruit, drink your fucking canteen.
Oh.
It was terrible, and
that's awful. I would have poured it out and just gotten in trouble.
It would have been every bit of worth it, because what are the drill instructors going to do about it? You know?
Yeah, I would have poured it all out.
And then the senior drill instructor the next day,
You're
obviously
already getting in trouble.
Yeah,
you might as well just pour it out.
And what are they going to do? Go to the chief drill instructor and say, "Oh, this kid wouldn't drink his canteen full of piss."
Gonna smoke you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Hey,
no, that's open.
I'd rather get smoked than
that's
canteen.
well. So I went to boot camp right after. I think he was a staff sergeant, or staff sergeant in glass. I got in a lot of trouble for hazing Marines, or recruits technically, and it was just so they tried to mind some of their P's and Q's. Mm-hmm. Tried being the optimal word. It's still the Marine Corps. Yeah. But the next day, that the senior drill instructor came out, and we were standing in formation, or in a box as we call it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, I need you guys to tell the truth. Who the fuck did that?"
Yeah.
So these three recruits came up and they said, "Hey, it was us," and they all got promoted to squad leader for their honesty. That's how much nobody liked this kid, and all three of them ended up getting popped on the piss test and went home like 3 weeks later.
So here's another question. So you've been out for a few years. So like, do you think after this, since this is the first episode on this, do you think, and you're on it, do you think your wife is going to listen to this?
God, I hope not. No, I'm just kidding. She probably won't. I had one of those wives that wasn't a part of the Marine Corps.
How did you guys meet?
We met in middle school.
Really? You guys have known each other for a long time.
Yeah, over half our lives. We just realized that the other day. It was kind of mind blowing. We've been married for...
And how long... So you guys met in middle school. How long did you guys date?
Oh, no. Man, I was chasing her for years. She was at least smart enough in the beginning not to do it. She kind of jokes. I don't know how I got myself into this situation. I don't either, but I just tell her it was drugs.
Oh wait, this is appropriate Nick Offerman laugh time.
Well, I used to tell people in Afghanistan whenever they'd see a picture of her and then they look at me and they're like,
"Did you roofie her?"
No, I always told them, they're like, "So what are you doing while your wife's at home?" And they're like, "Oh, I chained her to the radiator and feeding her a steady drip of drugs, man."
Oh, that's awful.
I got somebody throwing food down. Like, I need her to know I'm still here.
Was she in the military?
No.
So how was that? Were you guys married in the military at all?
We were. So we got married in 2011.
Okay.
I was in Okinawa. That was my second duty station. She was finishing up her bachelor's degree. And somehow I convinced her that it was worth dealing with my dumbass.
Yeah.
No, she was wonderful very supportive, but she was never a part of the Marine Corps dependent lifestyle. She had her own life. She had her own job. I don't want to say that she was smarter than the average dependent, but the average dependent never gave most people a chance to see their intelligence level. Yeah. Whereas she was always very motivated. She's one of the most motivated people I've ever seen. The mental ability for her to push through things is incredible. Yeah. So, she used to drive 40 minutes away from Camp Pendleton to go work at a horse therapy place. Her degree's in equine therapy, effectively. Okay. So, usually handicapped people or people with one leg. Yeah, are you trying to say horses? Well, I pointed at you, so I mean, I don't know how that could be misconstrued.
You think I need therapy?
There's no think on that.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate your honesty.
I don't think you want me to lie.
No, absolutely not.
Now, her specialty was more kids with autism, but she would also work with people in wheelchairs and that had a lot of physical ailments.
Does she work at that one place that's nearby?
She doesn't. She got an MBA eventually when she realized that I was out of the Marine Corps and she actually had to support us.
She was.
So she got her MBA and she runs a business team at A&M.
Okay.
So she's incredibly intelligent. She's incredibly hardworking and is spending a lot of her time fixing issues from past. So she does a lot, and we have 2 kids, and sometimes I'm not the greatest of the parents because a lot of things in my past, and she is absolutely wonderful. So she spent a lot of time. She wasn't one of those dependents. She is just, as much as I don't show it, she's way better than me, and she's really my rock. So, but she won't listen to this, so I can say all these gushy things and tell her how much I love her on here, and she won't care. So, because she, this isn't up her alley.
So now that you've been out and you've had a taste of military and you have a good relationship, how would you describe the transition process?
The transition for me was incredibly odd. I was the same age or older than some of my professors when I went to school. The first month that I got out, because I was in that awkward period where I had a month that we hadn't found a house down here in College Station, and we didn't have a place, so we stayed with our parents. And I love our parents; they're amazing. Mm-hmm. I really won on the in-law lottery, but I'll tell you what, it drove me up a wall. I'm not good at sitting on my hands and waiting.
Neither am I.
Yeah, so that month, man, I was going crazy.
I like to get stuff done. I can't stand sitting around.
I'm not necessarily getting things done, but I have to move.
Yeah, it's true.
Idle hands and Devil's Playground and stuff. But I really fight every day not to keep my hands idle, and that was the biggest transition. Was trying to understand what my place was out here. Yeah. In the Marine Corps, I knew what my place was. I knew what my job was, whether or not I was a good recruiter. I knew what the job was. But I didn't have a purpose out here. Yeah, I could go to school, but I didn't know where I wanted to be. Yeah. So, at the same time, I was going to school with the same kids that I was recruiting. Yeah. That's less than 6 months ago. When I was in one of my chem classes or my chem labs, I recruited up in New England. I recruited for a very small school. This guy working on his doctorate, I had called his house. Oh God! 6 months after he had left to go to college. Oh God! I was calling the graduated seniors, and I was calling his house. No. Like I had my old boss look, and his name was on one of the lists. That's awful. Like absolutely. But him and I got along really well. It was just extremely
awkward moment.
Yeah, extremely awkward. Where I'm going, what do I have in common with these kids other than the fact that I can, I don't know, talk about how old I am? Yeah, because I always look at me and they're like, "You're not one of us, are you?" No, you're right. I'm not. That was a huge detriment to me. Yeah. Was thinking that because I was old, I didn't have a place amongst my peers. Yeah. Or at least the people that became my peers. Yeah. So I tended to gravitate towards the veterans that I knew, and some of them become at least one of them became one of my really great friends. Yeah. And in fact, actually, you met him on July 4th when we went out and shot fireworks. And yeah.
It's a good community.
It's a great community, but what I really should have focused on was dealing with some of the younger kids. Yeah. I took a calculus class where I really had to be an example and try to work with them, and they ended up being great people. Inexperienced in some things, but great people. It's all about finding the experience and building on the experience of others, as well as trying to give your own. Yeah. So whereas I had a lot more life experience and a little bit more know-how, and the Marine Corps isn't the military, we're not rich people, so I fixed my own vehicles, and these kids didn't know anything. I had to clean off one of their battery terminals because they couldn't get it. Yeah. But at the same time, their work ethic was incredible because they'd been in school for 12, 13 years, and they were just continuing on that path, whereas I had a 10-year break. Yeah. So
it's hard getting in school, back in school after that long of a break.
Oh yeah,
you don't remember how you need to study. Like you got to retrain yourself basically, and the professors aren't helping you at all.
Or in my case, training myself. You know, I knew that I was going into the military from a very young age.
Yeah.
So in high school, my only goal was to just graduate.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have a plan to go to college.
Yeah.
There was never a plan to go to college. The only plan was to go into the military.
Yeah.
So I didn't really create
that cushion.
There was no cushion.
There's no cushion.
That's a lot of what my wife and I have worked on, is because she is an incredibly intelligent person. She has an MBA.
Yeah.
You know, she worked her butt off for the entire thing. And I didn't know my ass from my elbows. I still don't most days, but you know,
I'm on that same page.
Yeah, you know, it's an incredibly telling for how much people are willing to ask for help.
Yeah,
and I was never really good at asking for help.
Yeah,
so men's a men's.
So like now that you have a real job, what's it like dealing with civilians versus dealing with military people?
You know, most of the people that I work directly with have some sort of military background, whether it's their kids or their spouses, or actually I think there's only 2 that don't have some sort of military ties.
Yeah.
Out of a team of 12.
Yeah.
I think there's 12. I've never actually counted, so let's guess. However, I talk to a lot of people that don't know who I am, where I came from, but I'm talking to them on the phone. For me, it's incredibly easy to build rapport.
Yeah.
So I become friends with most of them. Most of them don't give me a hard time. It's very natural.
Yeah.
So I've only had to tell one of them to hold their horses and relax for half a second while we...
Yeah, yeah. What's the most aggravating thing about being out of the military now that you find?
Respect my authority. You know, I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
You
get a lot of authority in the military.
Yeah.
As a young man, and I think being given a lot of authority, because in civilian real world, you're never gonna be given that much authority.
No,
or even that much responsibility.
Yeah.
In any job, and here you are, you're handed a weapon, and most civilians, I mean, I would beg to differ, would be scared to be in a position like that. Either they're scared or they just don't want to.
Or they're 3%ers, which is a joke.
Yeah.
Which is a joke in itself, that we could have an entire podcast about my hatred about them. I'm sure they'd piss off a lot of people.
Oh, we could do that one day.
Oh, no, that would make me happy. I would relish the opportunity to just... I'd fly my buddy from California out and we just talk shit about the 3%ers all day long. I mean, we still text each other pictures if we can sneak pictures of these 3%er idiots. But it's, you know, it's that respect of authority, because you have so much experience, you know, have so much responsibility, and you're in charge of lives. And I know that a lot of times, this is one of the common arguments that my wife and I do have, is that she is a manager. She manages people, and she does an incredible job at it. But sometimes she forgets that I managed people, because it's not the same. It's not the same way that you manage, because she doesn't need to deal with them outside of work for the most part. Yeah, and she doesn't need to lead them into battle where they could die or get seriously injured.
Like in the military, sometimes you got to hold their hands too.
Oh my God, my recruiter, he gave me one of the best things that I used to do to some of my Marines when they were just acting like children. Yeah, and that was, he'd hold out his pinky and be like, "All right, hold on to my pinky, let's go." Yeah, like, you want to act like a child? Yeah. Let's walk you around like my kids walk, like I walk my kids around.
Sometimes I want to do that to people every day.
And man, to watch a junior Marine that's on recruiting assistance being led around by this big burly recruiter by his pinky. Yeah. Like, you know, we were talking about hazing earlier. That probably crosses one of those lines, but yeah. But you learn from it. Yeah. I can't imagine some of the things that you have to put up with as a civilian manager. Yeah. Because you can't do that.
No, you can't.
But it's just such a different world, and it's remembering that what you did in the Marine Corps as a manager doesn't mean dick now.
Yeah. I mean, you learn managing faster in the military than you would in the civilian world.
Yeah, and there's a huge amount of leadership that you're building through all the branches, especially the Marine Corps, where they're, my brother was a PFC and he was in charge of four of the Marines.
Yeah.
He was an E2. As an E3 and as an E4, he was running a platoon and a squad.
Yeah.
Between 13 and 30 people.
Yeah.
Human beings.
Yeah.
And he was an infantry guy.
Yeah.
So there's that high potential of going into battlefields and possibly losing some of the Marines. It's just such a complex system.
Yeah.
And especially once you start talking about staff sergeants and gunnies where they're leading companies, or sergeant majors who run battalions.
Yeah.
And then some of the officers that are, they're leading entire divisions.
Yeah.
Or the entire southwest
yeah.
sector of a country.
Yeah, yeah.
Like of all the branches,
you're given a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, even some of the guys, like I'm obviously a fairly big fan of James Mattis.
Yeah,
the Honorable James Mattis.
Yeah,
since I named my son after him.
Yeah,
but he's in his 50s or 60 or early 60s, and he led. I mean, thousands and 10,000 military members.
Yeah.
Or, 50,000 military members, or whatever the incredible number that it was.
He was in charge of them all for a while.
And yeah, he wasn't in charge of all of them because he wasn't in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Yeah. But the ability for somebody in their 60s to lead that much. I mean, even when you're talking about CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, you're not talking about day-to-day operations of their everyday life. Yeah. If one of the employees at the very basic level of a Fortune 500 company dies, whatever, the CEO probably doesn't even hear about it.
Yeah.
But that's the first call that needs to be made to, your commanding officer, and then to the division, and all the way up to the man in charge. The current Commandant of the Marine Corps knows about every Marine that dies, whether in country or in a motorcycle accident or whatever. He knows and he feels that because and I'm sure it's the same in the Army.
Yeah.
They understand what that impact is.
Yeah.
All the way to the basic level. So it's such a different environment that I can't even compare the two, but you have to be able to learn to live in both.
Yeah.
Because no matter when you get out, whether you spent 40 years in the military and were a 4-star general, or you spent an enlistment and got to E4 or E3 if you weren't that great.
Yeah.
But then you have to come out and you have to be an active participant of everyday life.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to assimilate. One of the biggest things that I tell everybody that gets out, and I try to remind myself of this, is don't let the Marine Corps be the best part of your life. Don't let that be the precipice. Don't think that you hit the top of the mountain and then go downhill, because there's nothing that's as crazy as that. Find something else. Be incredibly proud of what you did.
Yeah, and just keep doing it too.
Absolutely.
The rest of your life.
Absolutely, but don't let that be your high point.
Yeah. So, what would you say to someone that got out and was struggling with that?
My biggest thing is to find people that are in that situation or move past that situation. We've got somebody in town, Pat, that is incredibly successful afterwards and is willing to work with you and kind of give you that rap on the brain cells to kind of get out of your own way, as it were. The other thing is to get into a situation, join activities, whether it's a sports team or the guys that shoot clays or whatever it is. Go out and find people that are of all different walks of life. Yeah. We have this potential, especially at a young age, to be very good at something. Yeah. So that means you have the potential at even a little bit older of an age to be equally or better at something that you were before. Yeah. And you have that ability to be good at something, and you have that ability to learn and to listen So take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're volunteering for something or you're working in a job.
Yeah.
Be the master of your own destiny.
And what would you say to someone that wasn't in the military and was struggling with something like that?
The same thing.
Same thing?
Same thing. I see a lot of people that the highlight of their life was college. Or the highlight of their life was throwing that game-winning touchdown in the state finals or whatever it is. They always think that they peak young.
Yeah.
But there is no peaking young. You know, even if you look at running, I learned from a lieutenant years and years ago that a lot of people think that they're fastest when they're young. But really, where you get to the top of your plateau, or before you plateau and go downhill, is in your late 30s for running. So don't think that you peak early.
Yeah, you don't peak early.
No, not at all.
You can change.
You know, your brain doesn't stop developing till you're 25.
You change throughout your entire life, in my opinion. You never stay the same person. Your interests may change. Yeah,
but a lot of people won't let that. So I've had a few conversations. Don't let it be the peak.
What would you say to someone that was scared of change or scared of making that change?
Stop being a pussy.
Stop being a pussy.
That's
my thing too. Is
I tend to say don't be a bitch more than stop being a pussy.
I mean, at least we're not saying grab her by the pussy.
No,
I think let's be honest.
God, that was so fucking stupid.
That was way overdrawn.
Oh my god! But I mean,
I had to say it on the pod.
No, and that's fair. But I mean, I think that it was. I tend to be very middle of the aisle, and I try to see both sides. So at the same time that was drawn out way too much. So were Hillary's emails.
Yeah,
I mean, tit for tat. You know, we'll keep it fair.
Yeah. So you think, like, how would you? So in your opinion, if someone's like in that spot, they just need to go out and do it and find the community, find what they're good at.
They do, even if you have to drag them somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of that whole leadership thing.
If you're at a point where you need that change, you need to make it. You know. You just need to pull your britches up, pull your pants up. Put your big boy panties on and freaking go out that door, you know?
Yeah, you know, they always say that you can't, or you can lead a horse to water and you can't make him drink. No, but you can make that motherfucker drown.
Yeah, that's true.
You can force him he'll get water into at least his lungs.
Yeah.
But sometimes people need that push off the cliff. Sometimes people need that thought process of, I can do this and there's people that are here to support me.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with things like suicide and I don't want to say depression because it's a very difficult subject, but sometimes it just takes people to know that somebody's there for them.
Yeah.
And whether they're going to struggle or whether they're going to sit inside of their house and not leave, they need to know that somebody cares.
Yeah.
And it might not fix everything. Yeah. Obviously, I'm a realist, not an idiot.
Yeah. But
it's the same thing. My wife tends to do things. I took her to get one of her ear piercings that I can't think of. It's that little nub in your ear.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, and
it looks great. And she's wanted it for years, but she would never kind of bite the bullet. And so I told her, I was like, we're going to go out on a date night. And I refused to tell her. We pulled into the tattoo.
Yes.
I pulled into the tattoo parlor.
She's thinking, we're getting tattoos together.
Well, yeah, you know, she was like, oh, you're getting another tattoo. And I was like, no, you're getting your ear pierced. And she went, tragus, that's what it's called. I was like, no, we're finally getting your tragus piercing. Yeah. I was like, and because you always tell me I can't go to a tattoo parlor without getting a tattoo, I also got one of those. But you know, we said we didn't argue in the car about it. She was like, no, I'm super nervous. She goes, what if it doesn't look professional or good? I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you've wanted it for years. You consider it as something that badasses have.
Yeah.
And you want to emulate that badassery.
Yeah. Do it.
So yeah, absolutely. And she got it. She
got something on your heart that you want. You should absolutely go for it and don't let anything hold you back.
Yeah.
That's my view on the world. I think we both kind of fall in that category. It's like, where stuff is on our hearts, we're going to get there one way or another. It might be a little messy, but we're going to get there.
It's always a lot of bit messy for me.
Yeah. I've had a few stumbles.
Yeah.
I think everyone does.
And we, you're absolutely right. But without it, we're not growing.
You're not growing if you don't stumble.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not failing at something, you're not growing.
Yeah. Or at least you're not getting better at it.
You're not getting better. Yeah. You're not learning anything. You're not seeing other opportunities that might be coming up if you're not failing.
I mean, even Mozart and Bach, they didn't. Sure, they were absolutely incredible from a very early age, but they didn't peak then.
Yeah, they didn't peak then. Yeah,
they stumbled, and not every
key
that they pressed was genius.
And not every opportunity, not every door that's right in front of you is going to be the right door. Sometimes you got to look at all the other doors around you.
Mm-hmm.
If one door closes, open up another one. If that one closes, try another one. Just keep going.
Door closes, open a window.
Or or
bust that motherfucker out.
Or you could just open the door again and stay stuck.
Yeah, but speaking of the door analogy, it kind of comes back to what we were talking about earlier. Is having somebody on your back.
Yeah.
Sure, you can't open that door alone, but we can stack up and open that door together.
We can. We sure as heck can. I'm pretty sure we'll be good at it, too.
Hey, man, somebody's got to have the shotgun and blow the hinges off, right?
I don't mind going in first.
Not at all. But, somebody's got to blow those hinges off with the sawed off.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Well, I guess that's where I come in.
I don't know. I don't know if I would use slugs. That's what a nice Mossberg 500 is good for. Use some door busters, but
some buckshot or mix of anything.
There's so many ways.
Yeah,
hell, birdshot will work in a pinch.
Just builds you a charge.
You were an engineer, right?
Yeah, I was an engineer.
You're all about the charges.
I can just blow the door off for you.
If I blow the door off, then I'm probably going to lose all of my fingers and probably a leg like yours.
Probably a few brain cells.
There's not very many left.
No, I probably only got like 2 left, if that.
I probably have 6 or 7.
Oh, you're lucky.
But I'm younger than you, so
by a few years. Well, anyways, that was our first episode. I appreciate you guys listening and tuning in. Leave any comments below, and the email if you want to contact me is on my Instagram, which is Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And I'll talk to you guys later. I hope you guys enjoy.
And if you remember, if you blow dudes, nobody cares.
No one cares.
Nobody cares.
No one cares.
You do you, boo boo.